The Keth Empire had been in mourning for 5 long cycles. Every citizen knew the story. Princess Nera, the only daughter of Queen Vila, had vanished during a diplomatic mission near the Outer Rim. The royal family had sent hundreds of ships to search for her. They found nothing. Not a body. Not a message. Not even a piece of her ship. After 2 cycles of searching, Queen Vila stood before her people and spoke the words no mother should ever say. She declared her daughter dead. The empire wept. The flags flew at half-height. And life continued, as it always does, even when hearts are broken. Doan remembered that day well. He was a human, one of the few living on the Keth homeworld. He worked as a diplomatic liaison, a fancy title that meant he helped humans and Keth understand each other. He had watched the Queen's speech on a screen in his small apartment. He had seen the tears on her face. He had felt sorry for her, even though she was an alien ruler and he was just a simple soldier from Earth. 5 cycles passed. The mourning ended. The empire moved forward. But the Queen never smiled again. Then, on a cold morning when the twin suns were barely rising, everything changed. Duhan was walking through the capital city when he heard the explosion. He looked up and saw a ball of fire streaking across the purple sky. It was an escape pod, burning through the atmosphere and heading straight for the central plaza. People screamed and ran. Duhan ran too, but he ran toward the crash, not away from it. The pod hit the ground hard. It carved a deep line through the stone plaza before stopping near a fountain. Smoke poured from its sides. The metal was twisted and black. Duhan reached it first, before any guards or officials could arrive. He pulled at the door. It was hot, but he did not stop. His hand burned, but he kept pulling. Finally, the door broke free and fell to the ground. Inside the pod was a Keth female. She was thin, too thin. Her blue skin was covered in scars. Her silver hair was tangled and dirty. Her eyes were closed, but she was breathing. Duhan did not recognize her at first. How could he? The princess had been gone for 5 cycles. She had been young and strong and beautiful. This woman looked like she had been through a war, but then her eyes opened. They were the same eyes that had stared down from 1,000 posters during the search. Silver, like moonlight on water. It was Princess Nera. She looked at Duhan with those silver eyes. He expected her to scream or fight or demand to know who he was. Instead, she did something strange. She reached out her hand toward him. Duhan took it without thinking. Her fingers were cold and thin. They wrapped around his hand like she was holding onto a rope in a storm. "Help me," she whispered. Her voice was rough from lack of use. "Please." Duhan helped her out of the pod. She could barely stand. He put his arm around her waist and held her up. Around them, guards were finally arriving. Keth nobles were pushing through the crowd. Everyone was shouting and pointing and crying. But Princess Nera did not look at any of them. She kept her eyes on Duhan. She kept holding his hand. The Queen arrived within minutes. She came running, something a queen should never do, but she did not care. When she saw her daughter standing there, alive and broken but alive, she let out a cry that sounded like pain and joy mixed together. Vila rushed forward to embrace her daughter. But something happened that no one expected. Nera flinched. She pulled away from her mother. She stepped back until her shoulder pressed against Duhan's chest. She was shaking. The Queen stopped. Confusion filled her face. "Nera, my child?" Nera looked at her mother, and there was fear in her eyes. Not the fear of not recognizing someone. It was a different kind of fear. Deeper. Darker. "Too loud," Nera whispered. "Too much. I cannot hear myself think." No one understood what she meant. The plaza was not that noisy. But the Queen was wise. She saw how her daughter clung to the human. She saw how Nira relaxed only when she was close to him. "Who are you?" the queen asked Dohan. "My name is Dohan, your majesty. I am a human liaison officer." The queen looked at him for a long moment. She looked at her daughter holding his hand. She looked at the fear in Nira's eyes whenever another Keth came too close. "You will stay with her," the queen said. It was not a request. "You will not leave her side until I understand what has happened to my daughter." Dohan wanted to say that he was not qualified for this. He was just a soldier, a translator, a nobody. But the princess was holding his hand so tightly that her nails were digging into his skin. She was looking at him like he was the only safe thing in a world full of danger. "Yes, your majesty," he said. Guards carried Nira to the palace. Dohan walked beside her, his hand still in hers. The Keth nobles watched with shock and anger. A human touching the princess? It was unheard of. It was wrong. But Queen Vela silenced them all with a single look. That night, the empire celebrated the return of their princess. Fireworks lit up the sky. Music played in every street. But in the palace, in a dark room with thick walls, Princess Nira sat in a corner and refused to speak. She only looked at Dawn, the strange human who had pulled her from the wreckage. She only held his hand, and she only whispered one thing, over and over again. "Do not leave me, please. Do not leave me alone with them." Dohan did not understand, but he stayed. He had made a promise to the queen, and he would keep it. He did not know that this promise would change the fate of the entire galaxy. He did not know that Nira carried a secret that would bring war to their doorstep. He only knew that a broken princess needed him, and he would not let her down. 3 days passed after Nira's return. The palace doctors examined her many times. They found scars on her body. They found signs of starvation. They found evidence of torture. But they could not find the reason for her strange behavior. The princess would not eat unless Dohan was in the room. She would not sleep unless he stood guard outside her door. She would not speak to anyone except in short, broken sentences. But the strangest thing was how she reacted to other Keth. Whenever a Keth came close to her, she would shake. She would cover her ears. She would whisper that it was too loud, too bright, too much. But the rooms were quiet. The lights were dim. Nothing was loud or bright. The nobles of the court grew angry. They said the princess was pretending. They said she was being controlled by the human. General Theron, the queen's most trusted military advisor, demanded that Dohan be removed from the palace. "He is an alien," Theron said to the queen. "He does not belong near the royal family. The princess is confused. She will recover once he is gone." But Queen Vala refused. She had watched her daughter for 3 days. She had seen how Nira calmed down whenever Dohan was near. She had seen the terror in her daughter's eyes whenever he left, even for a moment. "The human stays," the queen said. "Until my daughter can tell us what happened, he stays." On the 4th night, Nira finally spoke. Dohan was sitting in a chair outside her room. It was late. The palace was quiet. He was tired, but he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the princess and her strange fear. The door opened. Nira stood there in a simple white dress. Her silver hair was combed now, falling past her shoulders. She still looked thin and weak, but her eyes were clear. "Come inside," she said. "I want to tell you something." Dohan followed her into the room. Nira sat on the edge of her bed. She did not look at him for a long moment. She seemed to be gathering her courage. "You deserve to know," she said. "You have been kind to me. You have stayed when everyone else wanted you gone. You deserve to know why I need you." Dohan sat down on a chair across from her. "I am listening." Nira took a deep breath. Then she began to speak. "I was captured by the Vral," she said. "Do you know what they are?" Dohan shook his head. He had heard the name before, but he did not know much about them. The Vral are parasites, Nira explained. They do not feed on blood or flesh. They feed on fear. They are psychic creatures. They can enter your mind and find your deepest terrors. They can make you live your worst nightmares over and over again. And they drink your fear like water. Her voice was shaking now, but she kept going. They kept me in a dark cell for cycles. Every day, they would come. Every day, they would enter my mind. They would show me horrible things. My mother dying. My planet burning. Everyone I loved, suffering and screaming. And I could not stop them. I could not fight back. I could only feel fear, endless fear, and they took it all. Tears were falling down her face. Dohan wanted to reach out and comfort her, but he did not know if she would want that. The Keth are an empathic species, Nira continued. We feel the emotions of others. It is part of who we are. But after what the Vral did to me, I cannot control it anymore. Every Keth who comes near me, I feel their emotions, their worry, their pity, their anger, their fear. It crashes into my mind like a wave. It is too much. It hurts. She finally looked at him. Her silver eyes were red from crying. But you are different, though. Humans are psychically silent. You have no empathic signal. When you are near me, there is only quiet. For the first time since my capture, I can think. I can breathe. I can feel like myself again. Dohan understood now. He was not special. He was just quiet. His human mind did not broadcast emotions like the Keth did. To Nira, he was like an island of peace in a storm of feelings. How did you escape? He asked and Ira single quotes as face changed. Pain filled her eyes. A human saved me, she said. Her name was Hana. She was a scavenger, traveling alone through the outer rim. She found the Vral ship by accident. She thought it was abandoned. She went inside to look for valuable things to sell. Nira paused. More tears fell. The Vral could not sense her. To them, she was invisible. She walked through their defenses like they were not there. She found me in my cell. She broke the lock. She carried me on her back through that terrible ship. Nira's hands were shaking now. The Vral discovered us when we reached the escape pods. They attacked Hana with their psychic powers, but it did not work on her. She laughed at them. She said they were weak. She put me in the pod and closed the door. Nira closed her eyes. The last thing I saw was her fighting them. One small human woman against a ship full of monsters. She gave me time to launch the pod. She gave me her life so that I could live. Dohan felt something in his chest. Pride. Sadness. A human woman. Someone he had never met. Had died to save an alien princess. She had been brave beyond measure. I do not know her full name, Nira said. I do not know where she came from. But I will never forget her face. She smiled at me before the door closed. She smiled like she was happy to die, if it meant I would live. Dohan stood up. He walked over to Nira and knelt in front of her. I am sorry for what happened to you, he said. I am sorry for your pain. But I promise you this, I will not leave. As long as you need me, I will stay by your side. Nira took his hands in hers. They were warm now, not cold like before. Thank you, Dohan, she whispered. You are the only peace I have in this world. Outside the room, the twin moons rose over the palace. The Empire slept, not knowing that their princess carried a warning inside her. The Vral were not finished. They had let her go on purpose. They were coming for the Keth homeworld, and only humans could stop them. 2 weeks after Nira's return, the palace was full of whispers. The nobles talked behind closed doors. The servants gossiped in the hallways. Everyone had an opinion about the princess and her human guardian. General Theron was the loudest voice against them. He was a tall Keth with dark blue skin and cold eyes. He had served the royal family for 30 cycles. He believed the Keth Empire was the greatest power in the galaxy. He believed that humans were weak, primitive creatures who did not deserve respect. He hated seeing a human walk freely through the palace. He hated seeing the princess hold a human's hand. Most of all, he hated how the queen allowed it. "This is madness," Theron said to his fellow generals. "The princess returns after 5 cycles, and she brings a sickness with her. She fears her own people. She clings to an alien. This is not natural. The human has done something to her mind." The other generals nodded. They agreed with Theron. Something was wrong with the princess, and the human was the obvious answer. Meanwhile, Dohan received a message from an old friend. Her name was Sujin. She was a human scientist who studied alien life. She worked in a research station on the other side of the planet. The message was short. "Meet me at the old market. Come alone. Important." Dohan did not want to leave Nira, but the princess was sleeping peacefully. He told the guards to watch her door and went to meet Sujin. The old market was empty at night. Broken stalls and dusty tables filled the space. Sujin was waiting in the shadows. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and nervous hands. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I did not want to send this in a message. Too dangerous. What is wrong?" Dohan asked. Sujin looked around to make sure they were alone. Then she spoke quickly. "I have been studying the Vral for 2 years. When I heard about the princes, I started looking into their activities. Dohan, I found something terrible." She pulled out a small device and showed him a map of the galaxy. A red dot was moving slowly toward the Keth homeworld. "This is a Vral fleet," Sujin said. 30 ships. Maybe more. They are heading straight for this planet." Dohan felt his blood go cold. "When will they arrive?" 3 weeks. Maybe less? Does the queen know? Sujin shook her head. "My research station is small. No one listens to us. The Keth military does not believe humans can know anything useful. I tried to send warnings, but they ignored me." Dohan thought about Nira. He thought about what she had told him. The Vral fed on fear. The Keth were empathic. It would be a disaster. "There is more," Sujin said. "I think the princess was not rescued by accident. I think the Vral let her go. They wanted her to return home. Why? Think about it. She cannot be near her own people. She causes confusion and division. The nobles are fighting over her. The military is distracted. The empire is weaker because of her return, not stronger." Dohan understood now. Nira was not just a victim. She was a weapon. The Vral had broken her mind and sent her home to break her empire. "We have to warn the queen," he said. "Yes," Sujin agreed. "But we have to be careful. General Theron has many supporters. If he learns about this before the queen does, he might use it against her." "He might use it against you." Dohan nodded. He thanked Sujin and returned to the palace as fast as he could. But he was too late when he arrived at Nira's room. The door was open. Guards were everywhere. The princess was standing in the corner, trembling with fear. In front of her was General Theron, his face full of anger. "What is happening here?" Dohan demanded. Theron turned to look at him. A cold smile spread across his face. "The human returns. How convenient. Guards, arrest him." 2 Keth soldiers grabbed Dohan's arms. He struggled, but they were stronger than him. "On what charge?" Dohan shouted. "Treason," Theron said. "You have been manipulating the princess. You have been poisoning her mind against her own people. You are a spy for the enemies of the Keth Empire." "That is a lie." But Theron was not listening. He turned to the other nobles who had gathered in the room. "This human has taken advantage of our princess in her weakened state. He has made her afraid of her own kind. He has turned her against us. I demand that he be executed and that the princess be placed under proper medical care." The nobles murmured their agreement. They had never liked the human. This was their chance to get rid of him. Nira watched all of this with wide eyes. She was shaking so badly she could barely stand. But when she saw the guards holding Doan, something changed in her face. The fear became anger. "Stop," she said. Her voice was quiet at first. No one heard her. "Stop." This time, her voice echoed through the room. Everyone froze. Even Theron looked surprised. Nira stepped forward. Her body was still trembling, but her eyes were fierce. "You will not touch him," she said. "You will release him now." Theron laughed. "Princess, you are not well. You do not understand what you are saying. This human has confused you." "I am not confused," Nira said. Her voice was getting stronger. "I know exactly what I am saying. This human did not poison me. He saved me. He's the only reason I am still alive." She looked at the crowd of nobles. She looked at the guards. She looked at everyone who had been whispering about her for weeks. "You want to know what happened to me? You want to know why I fear my own people? Fine, I will tell you everything." And she did. She told them about the Vral. She told them about the torture. She told them about Hana, the human woman who died to save her. She told them that the Vral were coming, and that only humans could fight them. When she finished, the room was silent. Darren's face had turned pale, but he recovered quickly. "She is lying," he said. "The Vral are not a threat to us. This is a story she invented to protect the human." "Then explain the fleet," Dohan said. 30 Vral ships heading straight for this planet. They will be here in 3 weeks. My colleague has proof." The nobles began to murmur again. This time, they sounded scared. Queen Vila appeared at the door. No one had seen her arrive. She looked at her daughter, standing tall for the first time since her return. She looked at Dawn, held by guards. She looked at Taryn, whose plans were falling apart. "Release the human," the queen commanded. The guards obeyed immediately. Theron opened his mouth to protest, but the queen silenced him with a look. "Bring me this proof," she said to Dohan. "If what you say is true, we have much to discuss." Nira walked over to Dohan and took his hand. She was still shaking, but she was smiling. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me." But in the shadows, General Theron watched them with hatred in his eyes. He had lost this battle, but he was not finished yet. If the queen would not listen to reason, he would take matters into his own hands. 3 days after Nira's speech, the palace was in chaos. Queen Vila had confirmed the Vral fleet. The Empire was preparing for war. But not everyone was ready to fight the same enemy. General Theron had retreated to his military base outside the capital. He had taken 5,000 soldiers with him. He sent a message to the queen that night. "The princess is unfit to rule," the message said. "The queen has been corrupted by human influence. For the good of the empire, I will restore order." It was a declaration of war, not against the Vral, but against the throne. Dohan stood in the war room with Queen Vila and Princess Nira. Maps covered the walls. Officers ran back and forth with reports. The situation was bad. "Theron controls the Eastern Army," one general explained. "He has tanks, aircraft, and heavy weapons. The palace guard is strong, but we cannot match his numbers." "And the Vral?" the queen asked. "They will arrive in 18 days. Maybe less." Vila closed her eyes. She was facing a war on 2 fronts. A traitor in her own military. An alien invasion on the horizon. Her empire was falling apart. "I have an idea," Dohan said. Everyone turned to look at him. The Keth generals seemed annoyed. What could a human know about their war? The Vral cannot sense humans, Dohan continued. Our minds are invisible to them. That means we can fight them in ways you cannot. But that is not all. He pointed to the map, to the positions of Theron's forces. Your soldiers are trained for empathic warfare. You broadcast your emotions during battle. It helps your units coordinate. But it also means you can sense each other. Your enemies always know when you are afraid. They always know when you are weak. The generals nodded. This was true. Humans do not broadcast anything, Dohan said. To your soldiers, we are silent. To Theron's soldiers, we are ghosts. They will not know we are coming until we are already there. One general laughed. You are suggesting we use humans as soldiers? There are only a few hundred of you on this planet. Theron has thousands of trained warriors. I am suggesting we use humans as a surprise, Dohan said. You fight Theron's main force. Keep them busy. My people will go around them. We will strike their command center directly. Cut off the head, and the body will fall. Queen Vela studied Dohan's face. She was reading his emotions, or at least trying to. But like Nira had said, humans were silent. She could not tell if he was confident or terrified. You would risk your life for our empire? She asked. I would risk my life for the princess, Dohan said. And for my friend who died to save her. Hannah gave everything so Nira could come home. I will not let her sacrifice be wasted. Nira stepped forward. I will fight too. Absolutely not, the queen said immediately. You have been through too much. You are still recovering. I am the princess of this empire, Nira said. Her voice was calm but firm. My people need to see me fight. They need to know I am not broken. If I hide in the palace while others die for me, I will never be fit to rule. Mother and daughter stared at each other. For a moment, the war room was completely silent. Finally, the queen nodded. Very well, but you stay close to the human. He is the only one who can protect you from the empathic chaos of battle. Dohan contacted Sujin. She gathered every human on the planet who could fight. There were only 200 of them. Farmers, workers, scientists, merchants. They were not soldiers. But they were willing. This is insane, one man said as they gathered in an empty warehouse. We are going to attack a military base with farming tools? We have weapons, Dohan said. He had raided the palace armory. Energy rifles, grenades, armor that almost fit human bodies. And we have something they do not expect. They cannot sense us coming. To their minds, we are invisible. Sujin handed out the weapons. She showed people how to use them. She was scared, Dohan could tell. But she did not run. The attack came at dawn. The Queen's forces engaged Theron's army on the eastern plains. It was a massive battle. Tanks fired. Aircraft screamed overhead. Soldiers clashed in waves of violence. The empathic energy of the battle was overwhelming. Keth on both sides could feel the fear and rage of thousands of warriors. While the main battle raged, Dohan led his team around the flank. They moved through forests and hills, avoiding patrols. The Keth soldiers never noticed them. Their empathic senses found nothing. They reached Theron's command center just after noon. It was a fortress built into a mountain. Heavy doors. Armed guards. Defensive walls. But the guards were distracted. They were focused on the battle. They were not expecting an attack from behind. Now, Dohan whispered. The humans attacked. They came out of the trees like ghosts. The Keth guards turned to fight, but they were confused. They could not sense their enemies. They could not feel their fear. It was like fighting shadows. Dohan led the charge through the main door. Nira ran beside him, carrying an energy pistol in her shaking hands. She was terrified, but she did not stop. They fought through corridors and rooms. Humans fell. Keth fell. The battle was brutal and close, but the humans kept pushing forward. Finally, they reached the command room. General Theron was there, surrounded by his officers. He was giving orders, trying to coordinate his forces. He looked up when the door exploded. Doan stepped through the smoke. His armor was damaged. His face was bleeding, but he was still standing. "General Theron," he said, "by order of Queen Vila, you are under arrest for treason." Theron laughed. He pulled out a weapon and aimed it at Doan. "You think you have one human? You are nothing. Your kind is weak. You do not belong in this galaxy." "Maybe," Doan said, "but I am still standing, and you are the one pointing a gun with shaking hands." It was true. Theron's hand was trembling. He could not sense Dohan's emotions. He could not tell if the human was bluffing or truly confident. It scared him in a way he had never experienced. Nira stepped forward. She was still shaking too, but her voice was steady. "You betrayed my mother," she said. "You betrayed your empire. You were willing to start a civil war while an alien fleet was coming to destroy us. You are not a patriot. You are a coward." Theron's face twisted with rage. He aimed his weapon at Nira. Dohan moved faster. He tackled Theron to the ground. The weapon fired, but the shot went wide. They struggled for a moment, but Dohan was younger and stronger. He pinned Theron down and disarmed him. Outside, the battle was ending. Without their commander, Theron's forces began to surrender. The Queen's army moved in to capture the remaining rebels. By nightfall, General Theron was in chains. His rebellion was over, but there was no time to celebrate. The Vral fleet was still coming. 15 days until they arrived. The Empire had survived the Civil War. Now they had to survive the invasion. Duhan stood on the palace balcony, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between worlds, the Vral were coming. They were hungry. They were angry. And they wanted revenge. Nira joined him. She took his hand, as she always did now. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Duhan was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Humans are good at winning impossible fights," he said. "It is kind of our specialty." Nira laughed. It was a small laugh, tired and scared. But it was real. For the first time since her return, she believed they might actually survive. The sky turned dark on the 14th day. The Vral had arrived early. 30 massive ships hung above the Keth homeworld like black clouds. They did not attack immediately. They waited. They watched. They wanted the people below to see them. They wanted them to feel fear. And the Keth did feel fear. The entire planet was drowning in it. The empathic waves of terror spread from city to city, from mind to mind. Children screamed in their beds. Adults fell to their knees and wept. The fear fed on itself, growing stronger with every passing moment. In the palace, Queen Vila held her head in her hands. Even she, with all her training and discipline, could barely stand against the wave of terror washing over her world. "They are feeding," she whispered. "They've not even landed yet, and they are already feeding on us." Dohan watched from the window. He could not feel what the Keth were feeling. To him, the sky was just dark. The ships were just shapes. He understood the danger, but his heart did not race with irrational fear. That was when he realized what had to be done. "Your Majesty," he said, "I need to make a call." He used every communication channel he could find. He sent messages to every human ship in the sector. He sent messages to Earth. He sent messages to human colonies and stations and outposts. He told them what was happening. He told them what the Vral could do to the Keth. He told them that only humans could stop it. The response came faster than he expected. 12 hours later, ships began appearing in orbit. Not warships. Not military vessels. Civilian transports. cargo freighters, mining ships, passenger liners, hundreds of them from every corner of human space. They were volunteers, farmers and teachers and engineers and shopkeepers. Ordinary people who had heard the call. Ordinary people who had decided to help. Why would they come? Queen Vila asked, staring at the flood of human ships on her screen. They do not know us. They have no reason to risk their lives for our world. Dawn smiled. They are human. When someone needs help, we show up. It is just what we do. The Vral attacked at dawn. Their ships descended on the capital city. Ground troops poured out like dark water. They were terrible creatures, twisted bodies, hungry eyes, minds that could break your soul with a single touch. The Keth military fought back, but it was hopeless. Every time a Vral looked at a Keth soldier, the soldier felt overwhelming fear. They could not aim. They could not think. They could only run. Then the humans arrived. They came in waves, landing in every part of the city. They did not have fancy weapons or advanced training. They had courage. They had each other. And they had minds that the Vral could not touch. The Vral tried to use their psychic attacks. They reached out with their powers, trying to fill the human minds with terror. But there was nothing to grab. The human minds were smooth and silent, like trying to hold water in your hands. For the first time in thousands of years, the Vral knew what it felt like to be afraid. Dohan led a team toward the largest Vral ship. Nira ran beside him, as she always did now. She was surrounded by humans, protected by their silent minds. For the first time since her capture, she could fight without fear. They cut through the Vral defenses. Humans fell. The battle was brutal, but they kept pushing forward. The Vral, confused and frightened, could not stop them. They reached the heart of the ship. And there, in a chamber filled with dark light, they found her, the Vral Queen. She was massive. Her body filled the entire room. Her eyes were like black holes, pulling in all the light and hope around her. When she spoke, her voice echoed directly in their minds. Humans, she said, little creatures with empty minds. You think you can stop me? I have consumed the fear of 1,000 worlds. I am eternal. I am hunger itself. Nira stepped forward. Her body was shaking. Her mind was filled with memories of her torture. Every part of her wanted to run, but she did not run. You took everything from me, she said. You broke my mind. You made me afraid of my own people. You thought I would destroy my empire for you. She raised her weapon. You were wrong. The Vral Queen laughed. You cannot hurt me, little princess. I can feel your fear. I can taste it. You are still mine. My fear is mine, Nira said. You cannot have it. She fired. The shot struck the Vral Queen in the center of her body. It was not enough to kill her, but it was enough to hurt her. The Queen screamed, a sound that shook the entire ship. Dohan and the other humans opened fire. They did not stop. They did not retreat. They poured everything they had into the monster before them. The Vral Queen tried to fight back. She reached out with her psychic powers, trying to crush them with fear. But there was nothing to crush. The humans kept firing. Their minds were silent. Their courage was endless. Finally, the Queen fell. Her body collapsed. Her eyes went dark. And across the planet, in every city and village and home, the wave of fear suddenly stopped. The Keth could think again. They could fight again. They turned on the remaining Vral with fury born from relief. The invaders, without their queen, lost all coordination. They were cut down one by one. By sunset, the battle was over. The Vral fleet was destroyed. The survivors fled into deep space, never to return. The Keth homeworld was saved. Queen Vela stood before her people the next morning. Beside her was Princess Nira, and beside Nira was Dawn. We were saved today, the Queen announced. Not by our military, not by our technology. We were saved by humans. By ordinary humans who came from across the galaxy to help strangers they had never met. She turned to Dawn. You asked for nothing in return. You risked your lives for our world. I do not have words to thank you properly. Dawn shook his head. We did not do it for thanks. We did it because it was right. The Queen smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since her daughter disappeared 5 years ago. Then let me offer you something else, she said. A new alliance between the Keth Empire and humanity. Not as masters and servants, not as protectors and protected, but as equals, as friends. The crowd erupted in cheers. Keth and humans embraced. For the first time in history, the two species stood together, not as strangers, but as partners. Later that day, Nira found Dohan standing alone on a balcony. He was looking up at the sky, at the place where the Vral ships had hung just hours ago. What are you thinking about? She asked. Hannah, he said, the woman who saved you. I wish she could have seen this. Nira nodded. Her eyes were wet with tears. I want to go to Earth, she said. I want to find her family. I want to tell them what she did. I want them to know that she was a hero. Dawn took her hand. Then we will go together. They stood there for a long moment, watching the twin suns set over a world that had been saved by courage and kindness. Abi, human stood beside the alien queen's daughter. Not as a servant, not as a guardian, but as a friend, as an equal, as proof that the best of humanity was not strength or intelligence or technology. It was simply the choice to help someone in need. And that, the galaxy would learn, was what made humans truly extraordinary. The end.